Once upon a time, there was a young warrior. His teacher told him that he had to battle with fear. But he didn't want to do that. It seemed too aggressive. It was scary. It seemed unfriendly. But then the teacher told him that he had to do it and gave him the instructions for the battle. And then the day arrived. The student warrior stood on one side and fear stood on the other side. The warrior was feeling very small and fear was looking big and wrathful. They both had their weapons. The young warrior roused himself and went toward fear, prostrated 3 times and asked, "May I have permission to go into battle with you?" And fear said, "Thank you for showing me so much respect that you ask permission." Then the young warrior said, "How can I defeat you?" And fear replied, "My weapons are that I talk fast and I get very close to your face, and then you get completely unnerved and you do whatever I say. If you don't do what I tell you, I have no power. You can listen to me and you can have respect for me. You can be convinced by me. But if you don't do what I say, I have no power." And in that way, the student warrior learned how to defeat fear. You see, in life, when things fall apart or you start feeling fear, rather than feeling you're getting the short end of the stick, feel lucky. Because only when you feel fear will you feel the opportunity to have the courage to grow. Being courageous and having a great life is all about being intimate with fear in a wise and graceful way. Feel fear and then do what needs to get done. Rather than being depressed or scared about fear, lean into it and see it as an opportunity to learn and grow. In doing so, all your dreams can become true. This is Dare to Do Motivation Stories. Thanks for watching and stay blessed.
Happy sun up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sisters and brothers, uncles and aunties, and pops, and family. United. I hope we're all well. I hope we're all living by our word and living by our example and our actions and aligning them with what it is that we share with the unfortunate ones that don't quite see as clear as perhaps you and I do. I think that's very, very important. And this is perhaps, well, it is actually why I'm bringing this transmission forward, and it's in relation to self-determination, self-resilience, good health, and not supporting the slave entertainment zones and the beast of the system. Because if someone's pointing a gun at you from a distance, perhaps a few meters away, and you know the gun hasn't got any bullets in there, and you're like, "Hang on a second, buddy, here, have some bullets so you can do some damage." You know, that's feeding the system. Well, that's feeding the beast that's about to fuck you up, or is actually, and excuse the expression, I really shouldn't be using that sorts of language. Lord, forgive me. So we bring this transmission forward to you guys. I'm not going to share anything that I've seen on the internet. Not that I've seen a great deal because I haven't been on the internet, as I don't really need to be on the internet because, you know, there is chemtrails in the sky. Yeah, cool. You know, there is PHOOD, which is cruel. There is those underground bunkers with some funky shit going on. It's not good, you know, etc., etc. You know, I don't need to see any more of it. So I'm already quite aware of what's going on. And, you know, getting a further bit more of a detail on some of these sorts of things isn't really going to benefit any change here in this world. So I'd perhaps to focus my attention on sustainability, self-resilience, being a good neighbor, a good community member, and leading by an example in the real world, in real time and space. meaning sun up and sun down. Stars are moving about and bouncing around, that sort of thing. As a point of this transmission also is in correlation to time, tick tock, tick tock, because the tick tock goes and it makes little noises and people race around like they're a rat in a race, because they're competing, they're in a competition, and they rush off to the banks and they get charged, and they have always overlooked how to discharge the charge, but not until the last couple of years people are looking at to discharge, but it's a bit beyond discharge now. It really is, because there's no point in discharging something when, on the other hand, you are feeding it. There's some tax there, sir, even though it's voluntary. If you actually look at the little bit of a make-believe illusion for the delusional, which states quite clearly in that fiction, it's more voluntary. So if you're feeding them tax, you're feeding them rates, you're feeding fines, you're going into courts, you engaging in the make-believe with the actors, there's no real point in discharging. Plus, if you were aware of this, over a decade ago, you'd come to realize that it's a little bit beyond that now. But hey, if you guys want to venture in on to, your equities and your trusts and all this sort of jazz, well, you go right ahead. But I perhaps would highly recommend that those that are more inclined for vitality and good health, spiritual, emotional, balance and well-being, and self-reliance, self-determination, living in reality with morality, that have children that perhaps, you teach them because you've given life to them and brought them into this earth and this plane here to do such a thing. Because if it is that you are not, well, why is it that they're here? Because that's a little bit immoral, I would consider. Yes, it might be controversial, but I've never been one to be a little soothsayer. I'm not here for popularity, nor am I here to, gain any likes. And as a matter of fact, I'm just here because I love you. I care about you, and I want to transmit my expression forward. I've been prompted by many over the last couple of months to do another video, to post some stuff, to do something. And I am just exhausted. I don't speak anymore. There's nothing really to say, is what I was feeling. And I say was past tense because someone shuffled my perception a little bit to be here right now to transmit this expression that I'm passing on as a charity to you all today. And I guess perhaps, well, it's not a perhaps. The reason being, or one of a couple of reasons, is because there's noise out there everywhere. You've got all these false prophets out there that are just bringing you down, retardation, and all these sorts of likes here. The time for this alternative retardation was a long, long time ago. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, from my perception, from the life that I've lived, from the experiences that I've come to value many, many moons ago, it's the time to actually do something. You don't have to pick up any pitchfork, and you don't have to go and, put belief into something that's totally not even real. All you do in your life is do what is morally right. We lead by example. We do as we say. Those that have children, we raise the children. We give them time. We give them energy. We give them patience. We give them support. We pass our wisdoms and our knowledge onto those guys. we raise the seed, we fertilize the seed. You know, and those that don't have kids, you got you. You may have a partner. You may be in a union. You know, you have to sustain vitality. You have to sustain good health, wealth, emotions. You've got to sustain and keep them balanced and sound. Because I'm not really sure what some of you guys think out there, but I believe in eternal life and the unseen law that governs, right and morality, which is enshrined in our DNA. Well, I'm starting to think that it's perhaps, well, yeah, it is. It is. Perhaps the other individuals have been eating too much PHOOD and it's had some effect on their DNA and their memory and remembrance. And the tapestry has been somewhat forgotten. But the morality, for the unseen law, has a lot to do with, when your body sort of stops and, things go on. And, I want to inherit the kingdom of heaven and I want to enter. It has nothing to do, in my view, from the top of this hill, to do with any physical experience here on earth as a human experience, if you'd like to use such a word. I'll use that for simplicity. However, I'd normally use the word mankind because I'm kind and I'm a man. And how are you, woman and man? That's what's important. And if one considers the unseen law and one would perhaps feel that, life continues, energy doesn't die, it multiplies. So when you leave your temple, which I hope we're all looking after our temples, we go on. Well, you could or you could not. Depends. Because if you're living immoral, perhaps there might be a little problem at the gate. Who knows what that issue or issues would be and how they would come about and the judgments that would be brought forward in supporting an evil, immoral system. And again, I'm saying that for simplicity's sakes, because we hear about, I'm not talking about these false prophets here, bringing some useless information, and they're all of a sudden heroes and stalwart, heroic, which it's really rubbish. They're not really doing anything besides just rambling on with stuff that they see and talking to people that see the stuff that they see. And it's pretty much illusionary. It's not based in reality, what they're speaking about. So it's a form of retardation. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the others that speak on to all, your equity laws and, you got your crown crew. You're talking about those crown crews. And, I've got no dramas with anybody. Everyone has their right to do as they will. That's their free choice. However, when they speak of such things, they're speaking of, let's just say, the Australian government corporation, and they will talk on to those guys. They might be talking in the subsidiary departments and whatnot, and they say it's all a fiction. Yet they're using the very fiction, which, if you know what a fiction is, it's just a make-believe. Basically, it's not even real unless you want to speak onto it and give it the validity that it is real. So they bring that into the reality, but yet it's a fiction, but it's a reality, but they're using it to bring about freedom. But yet that fiction is immoral because the fiction comes to coercion, it comes to plunder, it comes to death, it comes to theft, it comes to trespass, which is all immoral. So if that mechanism over here does those things, not saying not only that it's a make-believe, but it's also immoral. So it gets worse. This over here is pretty bad, yet it's supported. It's supported with belief. It's supported with value. It's supported with time. And more importantly, with attention of value with time, even though it's a fiction and it's immoral. So I'm going to throw over 15 bullets to Tommy that's pointing a gun at my head with no bullets because I want freedom. Okay, you get it? It doesn't really make a great deal of sense, does it? But I guess, we do what we can with what we got, with what we know, with what we see and what we hear. And I guess that I was doing that a very, very long time ago. So, when we do anything, whether it's playing guitar or a piano or learning how to do gardening, as years go by, we expand, we get a lot better. We come up with new methods. We have less failure. And if it's a piano, we just play some marvelous tones and tunes, and the vibrations are just smooth and flowing. Or if it's gardening, it's green and flourishing. We move forward, we grow. And that combined with doing a lot of work within self, because within the inner system, it's a system. Much like for you people that own a business, you got a little system. Now, if you know how that system works, the little tricks, and you got the tools, you got the know-how, you got the knowing and knowledge and the experience, I guess your business booms, right? It goes good. But I guess from the beginning, it's a little bit rough or not as smooth. And from the experience, the time in it, like I said just before, we grow. So it booms. But what about the system within ourselves? What about the emotions that attach to thoughts and that are attached to feelings and attached to actions and attached to those sorts of things that really move us in life? Whether it's how we react or how we act, how we respond, what we give, what we focus our attention on, what we give our attention to, because I think that's one of the most important things we have in this lifetime is attention. It plays a major factor. So if our attention's in a immoral place, a make-believe place, but yet we're giving it value, attention, and time by the way that we're leading the example, by using that, we're basically showing people that it's real, that it's right, that it's moral, that it gives you remedy, but it's farce. Come on, guys. That's not true. It's immoral. When you have a right and a wrong, that wrong doesn't just become right or a little bit right or a little bit good. A bad is a bad and a good is a good. You got to take it. You got to choose. Which road are you going to go on? But it takes strength. It takes courage. It takes experience. It takes will. It takes a lot to do such things. It doesn't take much to get out there and ramble on about the make-believe world. I could do that all day, every day. You could push me head under in the pool and I'd still be going. Easy. I could have a big, huge following. People would love me. Bring the best of the best. But I'm doing that. But I'm doing it in a moral way, bringing transmissions that aren't heard of. Well, I wouldn't think so unless there's another me. You over there, Daniel-Luke? well, he's not over there, but he's out of space, which isn't up. It's heaven. Yeah, it's somewhere. But he's across the veil there. I get in contact with him from time to time, and sometimes I play with my inner child too. Hence why people go, "You're so childish, Daniel-Luke." I love it. Love that inner child. He feels safe and secure. And that comes with a lot of time that's spent within myself, working on self, working on my, past grievances, traumas, pains, struggles. Not that it's ever really put much of a dent in the pep in my step, because I've always taken a real huge passion to working on myself, because that there, when I was meddling around in the land of the lost, which is on the sea, which is in the make-believe of the interpretations of all the imperial, Commonwealth, international, in that immoral system. And I used to grease up the cogs there and get them really spinning, but it wasn't so much doing a great deal in so much supporting the system back then, because it wasn't so bad as it is now. As a matter of fact, I really took a few teeth out of the cogs, to be quite honest with you. And I don't think I've come across anyone that's actually done some of the things that I've done. And that's not to toot my horn, but toot toot. I did, and I have. And that's because what I did a Daniel-Luke style. I did color. I did artwork. My documentation, I don't even want to call it a documentation. Let's call it a painting. But it is in relation to administration. The painting is artistry. And the artistry is formed and formulated by imagination. And the imagination is also in the place of the unseen. And the unseen and the other unseen hooked up with the imagination and created some artistry with some universal law and some old school remembrance. So the colors were just a little bit rainbowish, but not enough to, give any credence to the, the insane mental asylum, rainbow lovers out there that are all about equality, hanging out with half shark, half alligator men that are women that like to chew on crayons and lick windows at all. It's an art form. And that art form, with that inner work, with the lifestyle, with all those sacrifices, it really made a difference, because many people just don't quite get it. They don't get me. And they will never get me until they experience it themselves. It's just that you can achieve anything that you so desire. I've never been one to take too well to, the money, because the money is what grabs the attention and causes such atrocities, crimes, plunder, heartache, child abuses all around this earth. The opposite of money would be charity. And I come here, and I always have, with my free will of charity. I'm not part of any network. I'm not part of any crew. I wish not for any likes or subscribes. I'm not even going to say that, because every time I hear it, I just turn the video off, whoever it is. And they come across real happy and perky, like, "G'day, ladies and gentlemen. Hope we're all good today. Now on some news, we've got some Ukraine." It's like, what the fuck? Mainstream media's, kicked off, revamped to a whole new style. A lot of you people would see it that way also, but not as many. But that's what's going on here. But regardless of that, let's stay focused on self-reliance and self-determination as a slave of the Creator. because I'm my own, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not sure about you guys. I mean, a lot of you guys would class yourselves as sovereign, like you are the zenith, you're the alpha, you're the omega, you're the creator. But I'm not a creator. I didn't create anything. I'm owned. And because I'm owned, and because I'm in servitude to the creator, I do what's right because I am very blessed, very grateful for being here, for having the gift of being a guardian to a beautiful little seed that came into my world. You might know that as a daughter or a dad. That there too is a gift. And without that creator, this wouldn't have happened. So to show great gratitude, respect, would have to align well with moralities and do what is right to be truly grateful and honored to be here and have the opportunity to even talk to you right now. So this is what I have to do. There's no other way. I'm not going to throw Tommy any bullets because I've got a lot of things I need to do. I'm not going to give credence to make-believes because I've got real things to do. I believe in eternal life, and I certainly don't want to be stopped at the gate. I've got a long line of history. I've got a long line of future, and I know it's exciting. I trust it's exciting. And there is no doubts. There never is any doubts because when we look, we don't really want to look too far into the future. We get a little bit anxious, perhaps, maybe some of us. But I've always put out good juju. I've always done good. I do good for myself first and foremost, and I pass that goodness on to those that come into contact with me and that I give the time and attention to. So I always put out good energy, and I don't do it for anything besides just because I'm a good man, because I'm a good guy that likes to give good things because life is good. So I don't want to, lead you up a garden path and tell you that the strawberries are really mulberries. I'm going to lead you astray. I'm just going to have a little chit chat. How do you deal with them people? Well, you don't. You don't deal with them. You're going to go hang out with Tommy that wants to shoot you? Or you're just going to get on with things? You're going to message old Tommy? Say, Tommy, you can't shoot me. It's illegal, Tommy. You're not going to shoot me still. Well, you just got to get on with things. What are you going to lose? Are you going to lose your breath? What are you going to lose? You're going to lose your house. But you still got your breath. So what's the big deal? Don't you know how to use your hands and build a house? Don't you know how to use your hands and build a fire? Don't you know how to use your hands and your feet and go to a cave and cool off if it's too hot? Jump in a river. Create a pool. Oh, and by the way, too, some of these news people are talking about food shortages and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, food shortages. What are you guys doing about food shortages? Are you guys got some seeds, got gardens going? Know what seasons to plant what and to keep a production line going so you've always got that produce there? Because it's very important that you do that, because knowing, excuse me, that a food shortage is coming is one thing, but if you don't really do anything about it, well, you're going to get hungry when there's no food. So preparedness, I suppose, comes into self-reliance, doesn't it, really? Because we're not relying on Tommy, because Tommy's going to shoot us, right? He's who knows where Tommy is right now. He's somewhere. We're not going to go to Tommy, are we? He owes us a few $100s, but perhaps you might want to find another way to get by, because that's Tommy's creation. Tommy created money, and he ain't ever going to give you that money. And you probably don't want to see him because he wants to shoot you. He wants to harm you. He has before. He's done a lot of bad things to you before. So perhaps you just got to leave Tommy alone and focus on you. Focus on your wife. Focus on your children. Focus on your vitality and your mental health, emotional health. Focus on these things. And please try not to pay taxes. Don't pay taxes. Please don't pay rates. Please don't pay levies and fees. Please don't. Because Tommy's after me too. And he'll be able to buy bullets, and then he will be able to set up an infrastructure, and he will get me. And he'll probably get you too. So I'm not sure if you realize, but like the taxes, the fees and the levies, rates, council, all these guys here, everything goes to Tommy from these guys. Is the man. So I'm asking you, please consider that, because I love you and I love me too. And if you're another me, I'm concerned. Please don't. Find another way. We got choices in life. We do. We got choices. We always can choose. Think back to when we were children. I mean, for many out there, you still are, just in big body man shells and stuff like that. And then you got the inner shells. But think when we were children. Think about some of the choices we made when we look back in hindsight, and we'll laugh. We can laugh about these sorts of things. But we made plenty. We took many bad choices, right? And we consider ourselves all grown up now. Or let's use another word for grown up, perhaps matured a bit spiritually, perhaps. We consider ourselves spiritually matured. Well, what about the choices that we're making? What are we doing? What are we doing that's changing the way that the community runs? Are we making any changes? Are your children still at school? Are you still in a job where you're surrounded by the plague? Or have you left that job because you don't want to be around the plague, because you've got a child at home? And health is probably one of your priorities in life, good health. And they some of the changes perhaps that you've made. No? Yeah. I guess you might lose an income. Income, your bum. I guess that's how you'd probably feel. But it's quite inverted, actually. It's kind of easy to spin the cogs of the system. Doesn't take much of a man to do that. Takes more of a man to shove a big spanner in the cogs and fuck it up by not greasing it. Because to do that, there's many sacrifices. And there's a time when you're in that position that you got to sit. And in that silence, if it is that you can sit there in the silence and face yourself, you probably come to realize, shit, I'm doomed. But that's the thought that comes to the boy. Because boys will become men. And when the man eventually appears, he'll be excited. He'll be excited to learn, to grow, to fix this, to grow that, to make those changes that benefit the things that matter in life. And a lot of you guys are talking about freedom. Freedom comes from morality. You're moral. You live moral. By that very example, that's the change of the morality. And that there brings freedom. Not many people are doing such changes. And you get where I'm going with those changes. They're quite significant to some, but some people are that integral to their morality that they just don't even second guess it. Something inside of them just went online and they felt supported and secure and they just knew everything would be all right. So to share links and watch the new source of mainstream media, which is the alternative medias. And you know who I'm talking about. Talking about a donut man, talking about this funny eyebrow and these sorts of things. It's not bringing any change. It's not doing anything. As a matter of fact, from my position on the hill, it's kind of a retardation. And that bothers me. That bothers me because, hey, I feel that you're another me and I'm another you. Love you for me. How am I supposed to be happy and not frustrated, bring this transmission forward when all I see is you sitting there being retarded? Because if you had eyes that could see in a different perspective, you'd be like, shit, I've got to get a wriggle on. I can't believe I've been acting insane all these times, thinking that I'm on the right path and I'm woke and I can hear and see. This is quite disturbing, ladies and gentlemen. And no, you're not wrong. I'm not right and you're not wrong and I'm not better and whatever. And I just point this out because it's a simple way of seeing these sorts of things. People be like, oh, you know, how can you say this? Well, I can say this confidently, unfettered, because I live it. I've experienced it. I'm experiencing it. And I want you to know that you will be okay. It will be okay. It'll be better than okay, as a matter of fact. Some of the times people ask me what I'm on because I'm just bouncing, you know, bouncing. And I gave that tax up. I gave that mortgage up. I gave those fees up. I gave those levies up. I gave up that bit of material, this here, I lost that got stolen. All those sorts of things. You got the pep in my step because they're just things, ladies and gentlemen. Do you think that a bit of material defines who you are? Do you really think you're meant to attach yourself to worldly things? Hell nah. It's all part of the illusion, ladies and gentlemen. It's a distraction. You ain't taking any of that shit to the grave. And if you did, well, good riddance to you. Good luck. So I think you're going to have a problem at the gate. Because in order to do something like that, or even support that way of living, is immoral. It's immorally wrong. And it's time to get right. Yeah, freedom. That's right, freedom. It's time to get freedom. So I could say that word freedom would be like freedom, and it'd be right, and it'd be moral. Those three words, boom, because they're all one of the same. It's time. Like the man in Tiananmen Square. You know that little Chinese man? It's probably bigger than me, actually. That he stood in front of that tank. Did he move? Hell no. He didn't move because he was standing up for something. And he was a moral man. He ain't moving for nobody. I thought he would have got run over. But the power of right, morality, it's unwavered. It ain't gonna get knocked over. Just like if you throw away all those material things and all this illusionary, worldly way of fucking immortality, you're gonna stand strong. You're gonna be feeling good. And most importantly, you'll be a good page in history. People are saying, you're on the right side of the fence. Half these people are dense. Shit, man, they look at something that they already know and they're in suspense. I mean, shit. They probably think that Lamborghini with the dent looks all good. It's insane. It's insanity. Very definition. Going back to the unseen. Code, guys.